building a storage shelf. In this video, I'll be showing you how I made this storage shelf for my garage. To start, here is the breakdown of the cost. If you were to completely start from scratch, it would be roughly about $255. So I built this storage shelf because my garage was looking like a mess and I needed a better way to organize all my stuff. So I drew up a plan of what I had in mind and started off with the good old Home Depot. And the price tag of wood, it still hurts when I see it, but what can you do? So I always spend some time looking at the pieces, making sure they're not damaged, and I do like selecting some pieces that show individual character, and this is 100% a matter of opinion and what I think looks good. And for reference, I was utterly shocked to realize I could fit 20 2x4s in my Civic. Then it was time to start setting up. For this shelf, it was going to be 75 inches long total, but I cut the pieces 72 inches to account for the sides. And after I cut the 72-inch piece, I cut the other piece down to 21 inches. And the 2x4s always have these annoying stamps that I have to sand down. And here are some scrap pieces that I used. Then I wanted to first assemble the bottom frame just to make sure it fit in the corner. And I screwed in the pieces like this to make sure there was enough room for the outer post to be screwed in. Then I attached all the posts just to double check that it fit before I built the rest of it. And there was this random framing piece that I had to make sure that it wouldn't get in the way. And after I made sure it fit, I built the rest of the shelves. For the inside pieces, I just eyeballed equal distances and it came out decent. And I really didn't anticipate a problem like this, but this shelving was too tall to work in the ideal spot of my garage because of a light fixture that blocked it. And when problem solving how to assemble such a large, heavy shelf, I have to admit there are probably many different ways, some probably better than how I did it, but this is what I came up with. What I ended up doing is installing some temporary legs on the shelving so it would be level when attaching it to the posts. Alright, this first one not too bad. Let's see how this second one goes. Alright, I think I got the hang of it, but it wasn't until I got to the third shelf that things got exponentially more difficult. Holding this heavy, bulky shelf at shoulder level, trying to fit it was incredibly fatiguing. Ah, dang it. And as easy as I made it look to get it in the right spot, I did have to edit out a lot of footage. Dang, that was hard. Now for the topmost frame, it had absolutely no room for a panel board because of this random wooden post. So I decided to use some thin vinyl I had lying around. I can't remember what this material is called. Alright, so let's just try to manhandle this one. Nope, not even close. Would this ramp work? Well, this might not necessarily be exactly what I had in mind, but I had an idea to just attach the legs directly into the framing and then prop the shelf on top. Would this have been better to do for every shelf? And because the shelf is so tall, my dad recommended attaching the top to the wall studs to secure it from tipping over. And I couldn't find my stud finder, so I had to do the good old method of drilling into the wall and finding the stud. And you can see the wooden piece from the stud. Then I measured 16 inches from the post and double checked that it was in the right spot. So I drilled 2 scrap pieces into the wall. And then I had to move the shelf to the wall. And I thought it would be simple, but I realized that for some reason the shelf was tipping away from the wall, maybe because the floor isn't even. So I just put some thin pieces of wood on the bottom to help tilt it against the wall. And that's close enough. Then I just secured the shelf into the wall. And for this last step, I needed some panel boards for each shelf, and I was looking for a good, affordable option. This $23 thin plywood just didn't seem to cut it for me. But I did happen to come across this 3/16 inch board. I believe that is made of MDF, but also happens to be coated by some whiteboard marker and chalkboard paint. It was cheap, smooth, and looked good, so I just went with it. The problem I encountered was that it had no support where the division was, so I had to add another perpendicular piece to prevent sagging between the pieces. Then I just used 1 1/4 inch screws to attach the boards to the frame. And the last step was to add this final vertical piece to add more structural stability. And then cleaning it up with the good old trusty best vacuum of all time, Dyson. And here's the final product after a few weeks of use. And I think it turned out looking better than I thought, making the space a lot more organized. I also customized a few things to make it more functional. And for myself personally, I like how the more unique pieces I chose in the front add some character to the shelf. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up if you like, subscribe if you want to see new content, and we'll see you next time.